Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt. I do a weekly television show called Team Chicago Challenge. My website is teamchicago.tv, teamchicago.tv. My email is teamdan45@gmail.com. So today I'm joined with my granddaughter, Alyssa, and we're going to continue through the 1990s motorcycle racing. Now this may be my history, but I'm sure there are hundreds of guys out there and gals that were involved with the motorcycle racing in the 1990s and the 1980s, and they can identify with what I'm talking about. No doubt living in Chicagoland was pretty great because there was so much motorcycle racing, whether it was professional racing, Santa Fe Speedway, all the different motocross tracks, all the different race tracks, and I captured quite a bit of what was going on. And don't forget my email, I like hearing from you, teamdan45@gmail.com. Alyssa, who is my son's daughter, is joining me, and we're going to talk about going into the 1990s. So Supercross, I'm still doing the Supercross into the 90s. Go on, what's next? And there's in fact, I just produced one to show. In fact, I'll show you a little footage from one of the Supercross. I just redid that show now, and we'll show you some action. Alan Tucci, whose picture is right there, with his sister and a couple of the Supercross gals, Lake County SuperCross gals. I'll show you a little bit of action from Lake County SuperCross.
I'm going to introduce the announcer because that's whose voice you're going to be hearing. You're not going to hear my voice anymore tonight. Alan Tucci, Al, why don't you come on over here?
Hi, Dan.
How you doing?
All right.
Now, Al and I go back. In fact, the first thing you announced, we were doing ice racing at the Lambs in Libertyville, and Alan came out. We did a national championship ice race, and Al announced that, and everybody said, boy, this guy's really got a good voice for announcing. So you've gone on with a regular announcing career. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your career, what you've been doing?
Well, it all started back at Lamb's Farm at the AMA National Ice Race, and it led into the start of this motocross race. They asked me if I'd do it, you and Bill Sparks, and I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. And then I ended up at a drag strip up at Great Lakes Dragway and found a home there for the last 7 years. So
125A final. And Battaglia with a whole shot and a half as Brian Battaglia and the Princeton Honda move right out front. Here they come over the triples. Battaglia, Randa, Echo making a move into the Kawasaki 711, getting bumped into the corner. Double time as they come around. Battaglia still trying to hang on. How about that, race fans? Bumper to bumper, bar to bar, seat to seat, nobby to nobby. Look at Echo. He must have got a little upset about the dirt I was talking about in the last round. Grove City, Ohio racer Jimmy Echo making a move on Brian Battaglia. Both Princeton sponsored Princeton Honda. 1, 2, and 3. Boy, oh boy, someone from Princeton Honda's got to be happy at this point. 1, 2, and 3 are all sponsored at Princeton Honda. Battaglia, Echo, and Randa shooting it out for the 125A crown tonight. Brian Battaglia hailing, I believe, from Antioch, Illinois, as he makes his way out front. 103, 911 Echo tries to make a move on him as Jimmy Randa puts the pressure in the third spot. Look at Echo coming through the washboard section. Randa making a move though on Echo. He moves into the second spot. Here they come, 1, 2, and 3. Look at this! Echo trying to pass him over the air.
What is this picture here, Grandpa?
Well, when we were racing Black Hawk Farms, now Black Hawk Farms is in South Beloit. It's maybe a mile from the state line. I mean, it's right there at the state line. It's about 8 miles from Beloit Honda. And Steve, who's an old friend of mine, I mean, we go way back, because he worked at, I think he might have worked for Claude at On Any Sunday, Kawasaki dealership in Mundelein, He owned that shop, and every year they'd have a bikini bike wash. And they would have it on the same weekend as the race at Blackhawk. So we got done racing at Blackhawk, and we went over there, and I'll show you a little clip from the bikini bike wash at Beloit Honda Yama.
Walking down this rocky road, wondering where my life is leading, rolling on to the bitter end. Finding out along the way what it takes to keep loving. You should know how it feels, my friend.
So then in '95 we got the YZF 600. That's the first one before I got it painted. And here's a great story I want to interject. Like I said, the other side was a political TV show. Then I said, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do motorcycle racing. I also was involved with Fred Harmon in the 45th Ward. The Republican House Pub was a bunch of Republican committeemen in Chicago led by John McNeil. It was John McNeil, Jerry Mahalik, Danny Bennett, 40th Ward, 41st Ward, 48th Ward. They created the Republican House Pub, which they used a bar background, and they have a weekly television show talking Republican politics. And just regular guys sitting around having a beer talking politics. It was a half-hour show. John McNeil got it on Chicago Access. It was a weekly TV show on Chicago Access. I don't know how many shows we shot, but I was the guy putting it all together. And I'll show you a little clip from that too. And it was fun. I mean, the reality is, fake news. Donald Trump calls fake news. I am so used to fake news. ABC, NBC, CBS, Channel 7, 5, 2, 9, Channel 11, the real bastion of communists, you know, public television, Tribune, Sun-Times, fake news. They will never be fair. They all went to college. They've all been indoctrinated. They're either Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, they're just socialists. Socialism is a religion to these people. Whether it's Black Lives Matter, look at what they want. There won't be in America. There will be no racing. There will be no fun. Go over to the Soviet Union and see how much, go to China and see how much fun they have. Fun is freedom.
Yeah.
All right, I can get off my high horse.
Good evening, Dan Bennett, 40th Ward. Welcome again to the Republican House Pub. We have I believe, quite an interesting evening for you this evening. Get your pencils and papers handy, because what we're going to talk about is the Republican ballot this coming November 6th. In the old days, they used to take these ballots by the numbers, the Democrats, and you'd end up in the short end. I'd like to start out by mentioning the good news as far as the partisan politics goes, that the Republicans are first on the ballot and the Democrats are second. And I'd like to go to my fellow committeeman, Big John McNeil, to start just who is listed on the ballot and start from there, please.
You know, it's interesting you should mention that we're first on the ballot. Danny. We've got punch 12 for straight Republican Party votes this time. And I think it's important that the viewers know that if they want to vote for all the Republican candidates on the ticket, the way to do that is to go in and simply punch number 12 on the ballot. Okay. By golly, if the voters will do that, we'll give them a much better bang for their buck in government statewide and countywide than they would otherwise get from the Democrats. Will be taking their money.
Very good, very good. Now, who do we have running on top of our ticket?
Well, we've got for United States Senator Lynn Martin, and I know Jerry Mahalik is from the area where Congresswoman Lynn Martin, initially grew up before her family moved to Rockford. Jerry, what's the story with Lynn Martin?
Well, you're right, Jeff. She was born and raised on the far northwest side in the 41st Ward, went to grammar school there, and is a Taft High School graduate. She's running for the U.S. Senator spot from the state of Illinois against an incumbent who has felt more attuned to running for president of the United States than he has for senator. It's going to be a tough race for her as a candidate, but there's a couple weeks left yet before we actually cast our ballots, and if the candidates and get out their message and reach the voters.
Well, for Attorney General, a fellow that was here as a guest at the Republican House Pub, Jimmy Ryan, now in his second term as the DuPage County State's Attorney, a prosecutor for 18 years, first as an assistant state's attorney, then as first assistant state's attorney, and now as the state's attorney of DuPage County. And of course his opponent has a law degree but has never been in a courtroom in his entire career. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting if we go back to the night that Jim Ryan, our candidate for Attorney General, visited us here, and show a little clip from his visit so you guys can remember what a good time we had that night. I know the fellas here, Jim, know an awful lot about you, but why don't you tell the people that are visiting us this week at the Republican House Pub a little of your background, and you and I went to the same law school. Why don't you start there?
Well, John, you know that I started out my legal career in 1971 as an assistant state's attorney in DuPage County, and I served there for 5 years, trying everything from drunk driving to murder prosecutions. And then for the next 8 years, I was in the private practice of law as a partner in a law firm, my own law firm, actually. And then in 1984, I was elected DuPage County State's Attorney, and then re-elected in 1988.
And now some pictures of the bike in the new color, because we went from the gray and black to this purple, but people said it was sort of a fruity color.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great color. Yeah, you want the bike.
I like it. Yeah.
You want the bike to stand out. So,
yeah, right.
So these are different pictures of the bike. And then Dave Hendrickson got involved. But here, these two sheets, I just put this in recently. So we're talking about 1995. Public, they started Channel 56. So if you're in Chicagoland and you want to see Lawrence Welk, you go to Channel 56. Lawrence Welk is on all the time on Channel 56. It's a public television station out of Maryville, Indiana. The guy who started, Mr. Parker here, was looking for programming. Because you get programming from public network, the public television network, they got to pay for it. Mm-hmm. I gave them my programming. They also had football, they had basketball games. They had college basketball in Indiana games. So I fit right in. I would supply my show every week. I'd have their own opening for them. I had 5 dealers in Indiana that were sponsoring it. They were also contributing to the TV show, to the TV station, and I was on there every week, like Monday nights at 9 o'clock. It was a great time.
Yeah. So
that was Channel 56. In the same time, in Kenosha, Channel 55 was a religious station that had religious programming all day during the day, and then at night they wanted to go to regular programming. So they picked up my show, and I was probably on there for 2 years. So besides public access outlets where you had to have cable, Team Chicago Challenge was also being broadcast. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And what happened at Channel, I think Parker might have died or he retired, and now the liberals have taken over, so they don't want no stinking motorcycle show on their public access. And there's a picture of Dave Hendrickson. So Dave Hendrickson, let me tell you his story. One of the systems I was on was U.S. Cable in Waukegan. Dave Hendrickson was in charge of public access television in Waukegan. He rode motorcycles, he had his own street bike. And I said, well, why don't you come out, we'll go ice race. So Don Herring, we went and did a show at Don Herring's house because he had a pond behind his house. And Dave got the ride, and he was like insane. He thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So then we did the whole ice race thing that winter, and I started doing great coverage. And he then became the guy in charge of public access in Lake Forest. And when they put the Lake Forest studio together, they bought Beta cams, which is a higher quality. I was shooting 3/4 inch Umatic. Then we went to Beta. So he went through the road race school, Black Hawk Farms. Every week we went Black Hawk Farms 1 week, we'd go to Grattan Raceway the next. We were running with, and I had a falling out with Wira. Exactly what it was, I don't know. Might have had to do with the money and the Michigan Grand Prix. Might have been I might have stepped on somebody's toes, but I was out with Wira. So in 92 and 93, or 93 and 94, I ran with CCS. EJ took care of that. EJ talked to CCS. I was his boy. So Dave and me, we ran CCS, we ran Road America, Black Hawk Farms, Grattan Raceway, and we ran the 95 and 90. We had a 95, 96, and then 97, 95 and 96 FCR, YZF 600s, and that's Dave on the bike. And then my brother Jim, his is one of my favorite t-shirts ever. I just found this picture here at Mike's house maybe a month ago, and then that picture I found just last week. And those pictures were all taken at the same time, and that picture is what led to that t-shirt. It's still one of my favorite, and I still have a couple of them t-shirts, brand new, never been worn, hanging in the closet. It's a great design, and my brother Jim did it. It was my brother Jim's idea. And there's another picture of me racing George. I had great races on that bike. George Mack. Now here's another friend that maybe I don't mention enough. I did mention in the first couple shows. But when it comes to ice racing, George Mack and me went to hundreds of ice races. I helped them put that Rotex together over at 4 and 6, the 600 Rotex, night frame, I think, yeah. And I won a good number of races on that bike. I mean,
what is this right here?
That's the artwork. I created that artwork.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe in 77, 76 when the Olympics came out. They were using that kind of artwork for the Olympics. So I took that and made a motorcycle emblem. And I used that. I had a company I called An Ice Promotion, and that logo was part of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And now this motocross picture here shows that starting in 96, 97, 98, 99, I believe, I was involved with AHRMA. AHRMA stands for American Historic Racing Motorcycles Association. Jeff Smith, who was the world motocross champion with BSA back in the 60s, was the president of AHRMA. And Craig Brecken and all these, it's all vintage racing. Anything built before 1974. So I got involved with them, mainly starting at Grattan Raceway. I also went to Daytona many times with AHRMA. I ran many, many, many races with AHRMA. That's I had that MX250 Yamaha I picked up. I raced motocross at Grattan. I'm the one that introduced the motocross. I'm the one was involved with the first motocross track at Grattan Raceway. I mean,
wow.
I took Jeff Smith over to the other side, and I said, this would be a perfect place for a racetrack. And now Grattan Raceway's got one of the greatest modern motocross tracks on that same location. But back then, we just ran in the dirt.
Yeah.
And that's a picture of me at Grattan. Plus 40 intermediate.
He's jumping out front. It looks like Andy Blackburn from Rome, Georgia, second place. Is Andrew Hardin from Kentucky, as I'm out there on Bill Cavellis's 250 Honda because my Yamaha is seized up, and I'm out there riding his plus 40 intermediate. Plus 40 is the age group. Intermediate means that I have some race experience. We swing the camera on the other side. That battle up front between Andy Blackburn and Andrew Hardin. Some of these guys are really going fast. I make it through. Get on the pegs, stay on the inside, try to get this sand berm. I'll tell you, this bike, Bill Cavellis, got some proper shock absorbers, had the engine done. It was big fun to ride. So watch these bikes come flashing by. Up front, it's Andy Blackburn. Second place is Andrew Harding. Third place is Mark Nelson.
And then this picture here is from Lamb's Farm, again doing a motorcycle race, except George Mack promoted it. And at that time we brought out the truck from US Cable, and we got some of the best footage of motorcycle ice racing. We having a 3-camera shoot, we had an announcer, I was in the truck, but I also got the race, George Mack race. It was a great time, and we had great TV.
Granddad, the TV man. Surprising Alyssa Schmitt. Team Chicago running in front of Walt Weezer right now. We got a race at the point of this one. Number 81. Glenn Salpaka's trying to move it up, make it a 3-man race.
I went on to pick up the win in the plus 40 class on the George Mack owned 4 and 6 prepared Torco Racing Fuel Rotex. Rich Walby's on that 250 Cyclecraft Yamaha. Picked up second place. Third place went to Glenn Salpak on that Chain of Lake Plumbing Rotex. And Al Bloom on the 185 4-stroke Honda from Schaumburg, Illinois. Picked up fourth place at Lamb's Farm.
So what's your favorite type of racing? Like, do you like ice racing more, or like on the dirt track, or do you like prefer one over?
You know, and I think we're going to end the show on this note. I was talking to Neil King. Neil King's an old racing friend of mine. And we were talking about Dick Mann. Dick Mann was #1 twice. Dick Mann may have been one of the greatest motorcycle racers ever. Factory BSA rider. He once said, Neil King raced motorcycles to earn a living. He was a professional racing motorcycles to make money. He said to me, Dick Mann would just ride a motorcycle all day long if someone would pay him. I think I'm more in that. See, the reality is, I like racing. Somebody said to me a long time ago, racing is the one time you can go as fast as you want.
Yeah.
So you're on a racetrack, there's no speed limit. It's as much throttle control, brake, mind. Like I said, motorcycle racing is physical fitness, mental toughness, and mechanical knowledge. And I ride so little on the street.
Yeah.
I mean, Toys for Tots is about, 30 miles in one day.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you learn something interesting?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. I've been blessed that my 2 kids, Bridget and your dad, and you guys. I've been blessed to have the family I have. So,
Aww.
yeah, this is big fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really interesting hearing all your stories.
Right, there's a million of them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alyssa. I'm having a great time telling these stories. For more information on Beloit Honda, they're now Honda and Indian motorcycles, go to BeloitHonda.com. WYIN, Channel 56, Maryville, Indiana is Lakeshore, PBS.org. AHRMA, American Historic Racing Motorcycles Association, is AHRMA.org. George Mack, get a hold of him at SummitSpecialties.com. Lamb's Farm is lambsfarm.org. Contact me, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. I love to hear from my audience. I love to hear what you got to say about these shows. Remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action.